Hi, folks. It's almost 7 o'clock. We'll give everybody a couple minutes before we get started. If you're already here, welcome, and I hope everybody is well. My clock says 6:59. We will start. We'll give everybody till about 7:03, and then we'll get started. Okay, just turn to 7. Okay, I see about 28 people here. Here's some more. We'll start in about a minute, folks, if you're just joining us. I hope you all are well. We are almost ready. All right, folks. So it's about 7:03. We'll get started. A couple more people added on here. If you're watching this live, welcome. And if you are watching the recorded version of this, please make sure you watch the whole way through. There's a lot of important information. I'm sorry that tonight's not going to be very riveting for you, but everything that we have here is important. You'll see me looking down a lot. I'm going to be referencing some notes, and that's to make sure that I get everything correct for you. Everything that follows is meant to keep everyone safe and minimize the transmission of any infectious diseases in the fall, most notably, obviously, COVID-19. What everybody needs to know is for every person, for every student involved in marching band, we need two important things on file before you can attend any in-person or be part of any in-person rehearsals. One of those things is the acknowledgement form for this session, which I will send out as a Google form for you to fill out following the meeting tonight. And the second is a communicable diseases waiver that the district is having all extracurricular participants sign. And there is some legalese involved, or it's written in legalese, and it does sound a little bit, or it can sound a little bit daunting, but essentially what it is kind of a hold harmless clause that you will not sue the district if your son or daughter would end up contracting a disease like COVID-19 or even MRSA or anything while participating in marching band this season. And I need those two things on file by July 14th, which will be our first in-person rehearsal. I will send that out via PDF. I think the easiest way for you guys to do that, if you could, would be to print out the PDF, sign it, scan it, and send it back to me. If that's not possible, you can send it through the mail, or you can have your student bring it with them on the 14th. But we want to try to keep things moving as smoothly as possible. What I'm about to tell you, all the following procedures and protocols are required for us to restart marching band and are closely aligned with our athletic protocols and suggested and supported by numerous public health and science organizations. I know that much of the surrounding details of the situation at large have proven to be divisive in our society regarding how we approach continued mitigation of COVID-19, and I can assure you that my only focus is to return a large part of social, emotional, and musical normalcy to our students as quickly and as safely as possible. As part of the district's health and safety planning committee, I participated in crafting both the health and safety plans required by PDE and adopted by the school board on June 22nd. So on our district or on our boosters website, you'll see the athletic health and safety plan, and then our specific one tailored to the marching arts. And I was part of the committee that drafted and both of those. The plan specific to the marching arts names myself as band director as the primary point of contact for all COVID-19 questions and or issues, which is both a Herculean task of organization for me, trust and follow through, and an important one. So that's why everything that you'll hear about tonight and everything that we need to follow moving forward is very important, that everybody checks to make sure that they've done it, because all that data I will be collecting every rehearsal in some cases, and need to have that on hand in case something would ever happen. Here's everything that everybody needs to know and must follow regarding all in-person rehearsals until we hear otherwise. So again, everything I'm about to tell you are things that we must do. Everyone must do for every time we have an in-person rehearsal until we hear otherwise from the state and or the district. Prior to coming into the building for any rehearsal, every student will have to answer a screening questionnaire that I will have out again via Google Forms. And what it is are, I'm sure you've heard these 5 questions already. Do you have a fever? Do you have a cough? Do you have a sore throat? Do you have shortness of breath? Have you been around anyone who has tested positive to COVID-19 or been in close contact? Before every rehearsal, students must answer those questions via the Google form. It will collect simply their name and the timestamp that they did it and the answers to those questions. What you need to know is that if you are able to truthfully answer no to all of those questions, great, ready to go, enter the building. If you answer a yes to any of those questions, what that means is we will need to take your temperature with an infrared no contact thermometer, which we will be supplied with by the district. And as long as your temperature is normal, good to go. If you have a temperature of 100.4 or greater, we need to take you into a space for isolation that we will have set aside, give you a chance to cool down if it's something, maybe because you were outside or because you are, were exercising right before you came, and give you a chance to cool down. If it's still 100.4 at that point, then we need to call your parents and have them pick you up, or we need to send you home for rehearsal because that's considered symptomatic, and you will need to be asymptomatic for 72 hours before you can return. Also, prior to entering the building, we will have hand sanitizing stations, and all students and staff must sanitize hands before and after rehearsal. So we will actually, we'll get into this later, have 3 different entrances or more possibly for our students and staff to enter based upon what part of the band you're in. Each one of those will have a hand sanitizing station. We need to hand sanitize on our way in and also on our way out at the end of the rehearsal. We will be limited in our use of indoor spaces for right now, for the foreseeable future, because the district is taking sanitizing in between any session or practice very seriously, and will come through with electrostatic sprayers using a hydrogen peroxide-based chemical that they will mist in the rooms that will sanitize the rooms. So in order to not overburden our custodial and facility staff. We are limiting some of the spaces we're in. And right now, what we're looking at is limiting ourselves to simply the 3 music rooms in the music suite. So the choir room, the band room, the orchestra room. And then if necessary, because of rain or inclement weather, the high school main lobby, and then the aux gym. And obviously the aux gym would be for the guard. Sideline and drumline could use the lobby, or if we find that that's not enough space to adequately social distance, we would look at using the auditorium. Wind players will be split into what we are calling cohorts, or specific groups of people at this point that will not change up too much. That way we're able to track who's around who in case something should arise. And each one of those cohorts will be assigned a room in that music suite in which all of our musical rehearsal indoors will take place in. So flutes and clarinets and alto saxes, since they will be slightly larger of the 3 cohorts by a couple kids, will use the band room. Trumpets and mellophones will use the choir room, and low brass and low winds, which includes tenor and bass sax, will use the orchestra room. And so what we will have is a specific entrance for each one of those rooms, and people that are in those cohorts must enter and exit through those doors each time. So flutes and clarinets and altos, you guys will enter in through the band room doors. Trumpets and mellophones will enter in through the athletic wing doors there, a little ways down from the band room. And low brass, you will enter through the lobby doors closest to the orchestra room. So if you can think where we have those 2 walkways with the porticos, it's the one closest to the orchestra room. In the case of inclement weather, percussion will use the lobby, and you guys will enter through the main doors right next to the main office. And guard will use the aux gym, and you will enter using the cafeteria entrance. Our outdoor spaces will be the creek field, obviously the grass areas in front of the lobby, student parking lot, which I'll get into a little bit later, and social distancing will be maintained whenever possible. So as we do basics, we're a little bit farther apart than we normally are to make sure that we are not coming too close in contact with people. Obviously, that social distancing will be maintained in the indoor spaces as well, which is why we're splitting into groups so we can spread out in those rooms a little bit more. And again, after each and every practice and before each and every practice, the custodial staff will come in and make sure all of our indoor spaces are sanitized. So they'll be sanitized when we walk in, and after we leave, they will come back and take care of that again and sanitize them, and then sanitize them again prior to the next rehearsal to make sure that we are getting rid of any germs that could be harmful to us. Now we get into some things that are going to change a little bit about how we operate or how we run from normal or what we are used to. Students, you may not carry or play any instruments that are not your own. So percussion, that means not only your instruments, but also you cannot touch sticks or mallets that are not your own. Guard, you guys will be responsible for carrying your own equipment and only your own equipment. Instruments must be taken home after every rehearsal. No instruments left at school. Our notable exceptions will be obviously the sousaphones, obviously our sideline percussion, and perhaps marching percussion if you have an issue moving your instrument back and forth via your vehicle. And we'll have plans to follow on that. Wind players, you guys are encouraged to sanitize your mouthpieces after every rehearsal. Brass players, for you guys, it's as simple as soap and warm water and dish soap. Okay. Or if you want to be a little bit more hardcore, you can boil your mouthpiece for about 15 minutes, and that should kill anything. Woodwind players, I would say reeds can be soaked in mouthwash or diluted mouthwash if you want to sanitize your reed as well. But again, for you guys, your mouthpieces can be washed out with just warm water and some mild dish soap. Reed players, I would also recommend that you have multiple reeds kind of broken in and ready, so you can also switch them out. Staff will be required to have a mask on their person at all times, and staff will wear masks whenever we need to have direct instruction that requires them to be 6 feet or closer with the student, whether that be basics, whether we have to demonstrate a technique, and they will keep that interaction to a minimum to keep any other germs, from transmission. Students are encouraged to wear masks when they're not actively playing in a rehearsal. So that means, obviously, if we're doing marching basics and we don't need to use I don't need to use our air to play. I would encourage you to wear a mask. If you're a percussionist or a guard person and you feel comfortable, practicing with a mask, if that's not going to inhibit you too much, I'd recommend, encourage you to wear that. And for me, what defines a mask is simply a covering that will cover your nose and mouth, to make sure that, if you sneeze or cough, those germs are caught or slowed down. Um, Students should plan to bring their own water bottles. And I want you to think big about this, because we are not allowed to refill water bottles from the fountain, and you may not share water bottles with someone. I don't even think we, at this point, can have extra just bottles for you to take on hand. What we are looking into purchasing is one of the water bottles, or one of the water fillers that the football team has. And if you've seen them, it's essentially a very large food grade plastic uh, barrel, essentially, that has a pressurized filler. And once we have that, and have that ready to go, we will have one person and one person only that are allowed to use that to fill bottles. And we'll go over that when that time comes. But for now, please make sure you have water. Make sure you have enough water. I know the sports teams have been talking about, using an empty gallon milk jug or an empty gallon spring water jug and keeping that around and making sure it's yours. That's a lot of water. As we get into band camp, we may need that. No, at this point, we cannot have any booster provided meals or food until further notice. So that also means, until we have a workaround for it, our cool treats that we usually have during band camp. And that means for the foreseeable future, unless we hear otherwise, at this point, no meals during Fridays. And we don't know what Fridays are going to look like yet, as far as football and everything else. We know we're allowed to practice, but there are still decisions yet to be made. So you may bring your own food, okay? However, you may not share food with other people at this point. And nothing may be left in any of our spaces that we rehearse in. Cleanliness has been a problem for us, with band room stuff, between instruments and clothing and food sometimes. And now it's something that we need to really be careful with. So that goes for clothing as well. Please do not leave any clothing behind, like extra jackets or socks or shirts. Everything that you pack in with you needs to be packed out at the end of band rehearsal. Vulnerable individuals. If you are someone who the CDC considers a vulnerable individual, meaning someone who maybe has some respiratory issues like severe asthma, or weakened immune system due to autoimmune disorders or such. If you are uncomfortable with participating in our in-person rehearsals at this point, you may opt out of those, and I will be able to plan and provide for you some options to help you stay up with the rest of us throughout the preseason and into camp. There will be no extra adults allowed at rehearsal, which is tough, because we know how much the boosters are really an integral part of what we do. So we're trying to figure out workarounds with that. And parents, you guys will be getting some emails, if you haven't already, with just some kind of like, hey, this is what we usually do. This is what we're going to try to do now to make sure that we can still support our students while we're prepping for the show, and but not be physically there. So there will be some changes there. And that's the gist of things that you all need to know now. If I had to reinforce anything, what I would say is a couple things. One, make sure that if you have a question, you can answer, or you can ask it via the chat right now, and I can answer it for you here live, and then that answer can go ahead and help out other folks, who will be watching it later. If you need clarification, you can obviously also reach out to me via email. The two most important pieces of information, or two most important things I will need from you, from the students to get started on July 14th, which is our target return date, will be the acknowledgement form via the Google form that you have watched this information session in its entirety, and have and understand the protocols and procedures, and are able to follow those protocols and procedures. And then obviously the infectious or communicable disease waiver that every extracurricular student is going to be required to sign to participate this fall. And again, that I will push out via email to everyone. And the easiest way would be to print it, sign it, scan it if possible, and then send it back. If that's not possible, you can also you can also mail it back. Students can bring it back the night of the first rehearsal, but as you can see, we're going to have some extra protocols that we're going to have to go through to get people into the building and to get rehearsal started. And so what we will need to do, is try to keep that running as smoothly as possible. I see a question here from Andrew Barnes. Would members that have marched in the band and still in the high school be able to help out at rookie camp? Andrew, that's a great question. Right now, we don't know what rookie camp is going to look like or when we are going to hold that. So, stay tuned for that. But yes, if you are still part of the high school marching band, you may still do that. That is correct, and that is fine. Obviously, we would need to have your acknowledgement form for this and your waiver as well. I see a question from our moderator, from Aunt Jess. Can I post the Google form or the Google Drive form in the chat? Yes, I can do that. If you give me a second, I will bring it up and get that ready to go. While I'm doing this, if anybody has any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat right now. Give me 1 second here, folks. Sorry, trying to make sure I get you the right one. Here we go. So I just posted the link here for the Google Doc for the acknowledgement form for this. You can click on this link to fill it out once we're done here. Please don't do it yet, as we may come up with other important questions. I see a couple other questions here in the chat. What time is band practice going to begin and end? The schedule that is posted on the Booster website will be, we will kind of operate under our normal days and times now that we are reopening. So we will still rehearse on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Drumline will start at 6, and I think guard as well. And correct me if I'm wrong there, Aunt Jess. And wind players, we will arrive at 6:30, or we will begin at 6:30. So it will behoove you to get here a couple minutes prior to rehearsal start time so that we're ready to go right away. But what we don't want is a lot of people kind of getting here really early and kind of hanging around, milling around, because students will have to go after we've checked that they've submitted their screening questions and everything else right to where their cohort is, and kind of stay there to begin practice. Jess is saying that Jess and Melanie have not decided guard if you'll start at 6 or 6:30, so you'll get an email from them. One other thing I wanted to note, and I apologize that I did not I did not say this earlier. We talked about wind players and some other folks about cohorts and where you would be in the building or outside the building if you're percussion or guard during rehearsals. And what that also will mean is what we are trying to do is set up specific pickup and drop off areas for students. So if you are a color guard or percussion student and you are getting dropped off by a parent, we would like you to drop those percussion, whether it's sideline, drumline, and color guard, drop them off in the parking. Well, if you guys are coming at 6, percussion, you guys can use the main loop. Okay. Color guard, we'd like you guys to be picked up and dropped off in the parking lot closest to the school library. If you are at 6:30, if you are a alto sax, flute, or clarinet, you can also use the main loop to drop off and pick up. If you are, excuse me, if you are a high brass person, if you are a trumpet or a mellophone player, we would like you guys to drop off on Hershey Avenue. And if you are a low brass player, you may also use the main loop. Make sure I have that right. Yes. Students, if you are driving themselves, if you are driving yourselves, we would like you to make sure that you are parking at least 2 spaces apart from each other down on Adele Avenue to, again, try to minimize some of our social distance, or maximize our social distancing. What you do after rehearsal, obviously we can't control, and we want to make sure that we get back to as much social and emotional normalcy as we can. But I need you to understand that it is also my job now as your band director to make sure that I'm minimizing the risk of you coming down with anything nasty while you are participating in marching band. And I know that's going to make some things really different. And the staff and I are going to work hard to make sure that we still keep it as normal as we possibly can. That's important to me because music has a certain amount of intimacy to it, or closeness to it. And we want to try to maintain that while keeping you safe. So I know a lot of the stuff seems very, very draconian and very harsh. But our goal is to return you guys to seeing each other and being near each other while also keeping you safe. Katie Wolf asks, should we arrive with movement 1 already printed out, or will we be given copies? Preferably print it out if you can. And I actually have the music that I'm going to be pushing out tonight and hopefully tomorrow for movement 2 and movement 3. If you are able to print that out, that's great. It minimizes, again, us having to exchange papers, which may or may not carry germs. I see Mr. Marjoram asked, where's Drumline going to meet in Chelsea? Answered, main loop for the drop-off, and then you'll meet and play under the tree in front of the locker room entrance for now. Or be prepared for changes. It'll be somewhere outside. Percussion, yeah, since you guys start at 6, you can definitely use the main loop there. I think that is everything that I have. I'm trying to keep this moving as quickly as I can, but making sure you have all the information. This video, again, once I end the live stream, will process and stay up as a video for you to watch if you need to go over something again. You can always email me with questions, and I will do my best to get back to you within 24 hours, or if it's on a Friday, by Monday morning. Are there any other questions I can ask at this time? Kevin, can I use the waiver I have for a sport, or do I have to print another one out? I would say check out the form that I send out, and if the form is the same, I'll just need a copy of the one that you've already submitted. If it's not the same, then I will need you to do the marching band one. In fact, I will need you to do the marching band one because there's a little bit of different language there. I want to make sure that I have everybody the same way. Jess says she thinks the chat's available too in case anyone wants to see the answers or questions again. I will hang out here until about 7:30 or so in case anybody has any other questions. I hope this was informative. I do not have drop-off and pickup locations available to copy and paste. Everything that I did, I'm kind of old school. I did everything kind of handwritten. It helps me see things and organize things better. But I will push that out in an email with just some highlights and some reminders from tonight, so that everybody will have those as well. The key takeaways. Where do I get movement 1 for a super fresh? Okay, so good question. All of the music right now is in our high school music students Schoology group under the resources, and you'll see it'll say 2020 show music, and it'll be broken down by instruments. Um, if I have not, I thought I had everybody added in as of today into that group. If your student cannot access that group, they don't see that group in their Schoology, have them email me, send me a Schoology message. You can email me directly, and I will make sure they're added into that group. But that's where all the music is going to go for now. It's the quickest way to push things out, um, and that way, it's there so that you can have it. But that's where it is. I'm getting a text here from Steph Smith, a sideline instructor, that says sideline should come at 6 p.m. as well. So if you are a percussionist, sideline will begin at 6. Everyone else will be, for right now, 6:30 to 9. So we'll follow that normal schedule again until, unless you hear otherwise from us, or if we see something's not working and we can streamline some things. Aiden, yes, we do have the music for the trumpets on Schoology right now. Okay. These are great questions. If anybody missed something earlier on, or you have a question about anything that you think would help other folks out, now's the time to ask. Any time for band camps or band camp yet? Our band camp will be our normal time as of right now, which is, since we still are in a building that's not air conditioned, 8 to 1 and 6 to 9, and it's the first 2 full weeks of August. I know there was some confusion about that because sometimes we start, that last week of July. But the schedule that was sent out, and I know people probably haven't looked at it in a long time because of um, all of the COVID stuff. But band camp will start on August 3rd, August 3rd through 7th, and then the 10th through the 14th. Again, 8 to 1 and 6 to 9, so that way kids are not out in the sun during the hottest part of the day. That's been our usual. We base those start dates for camp on when backtracking when school starts and when fall sports start, usually with their camps, to make sure that nothing interferes. So yes, we're using our normal dates for our normal times for that, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 6 to 9 p.m. except for Fridays where we don't have the evening practice. It's just 8 to 1. Maddie asks, are we going to get our folders for our drill and music, or should we provide our own? At that point, yes, or we hope to still push out things normally. Again, once you get those folders need to be your own and no one else can share them. So we'll also give you guys our dot sheets this year as well. Make sure you have both. Jessica, yes, I will add Alexis on Schoology and email. I apologize for that. Make sure we have that stuff down. Great questions from everybody. Right, Bryn can also not access Schoology. Thanks, Chelsea. I will make sure Bryn gets on top of her stuff. Can I help anyone else with anything right now? I know this is a lot to take in. It's a lot to kind of, absorb right now. The biggest thing is just going to be moving into consistency with how we get things to roll, and trying to get things to roll as smoothly as possible. And you'll get reminders from me and some, again, some kind of, some quick sheets, some quick fact sheets that will hopefully help us all with this transition until we get it smooth. And I'm hoping for the days that will arrive at some point where we don't have to do so much of this. We can kind of go back to, being kids and being, kids that look like adults, which is me, and being a band and being like a band. Aaron, I'm sorry to see your name on that roster. Yes, I will update. I did not know how I missed you on that. Mrs. Johnson, I will add Zoe. Thank you. We are about to hit 35 minutes. Does anybody have anything else pressing that will be helpful for the group, question-wise? If not, again, please feel free to email me. I'll put my email here in case you don't have it in the chat. Aiden, procedures for new members. Just follow the procedures that we have now, or that we've just talked about, and we will try to work you guys in as best as we can. We originally had a mini camp scheduled for rookies just to kind of get you acclimated to what it looks like and feels like to move while you're playing and move with your instrument. We may still try to do some of those things, but again, a lot of this is going to depend on how things go these first couple weeks, or if anything changes from the top down. I think the biggest thing everybody needs to understand, and this is tough even for me, is that the situation kind of remains fluid, and we get different directives or different tweaks or different information from the state level, that are legal or require things sometimes daily that we have to adjust to. I can tell you that when we created our reentry plans, we had 3 meetings, because of things that needed to be changed or tweaked because information had changed literally within hours of us completing plans. The other thing is that I will counsel is patience for everybody as we go through this process, not just getting things up and running and smoothed out, but if changes occur or if changes need to happen, obviously I will get them out to you as soon as I know them. So there's almost zero delay and we can plan accordingly. Okay, so if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to email me. My email is there in the chat. And like I said, I will turn around and get back to you within 24 hours, or if it's on a Friday, by Monday morning. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody again in just a little over 2 weeks. For those of you auditioning for section leader or drum major, remember we have our interviews next Tuesday and Wednesday night. The playing submissions should be sent to Flipgrid, or uploaded to the Flipgrid that is in our Schoology. It was in that Schoology post by the start of interviews on Tuesday. Once you upload it, you will not be able to see it, even though it's been uploaded. And that's because I've turned that off so that they remain private until our music judging panel is able to view them and evaluate them with the rubric. And then I'll see everybody else, hopefully in person, on July 14th. I hope you are all well. I hope you stay well. I miss everybody terribly. And I'm looking forward to making some music again. So take care, be well, be safe, and I will see you all on the 14th. Yeah, and Jess says, don't forget to fill out the form that was linked there. I will also send the link out, the acknowledgement form for this session, via email tonight after I eat dinner, because dinner was just getting wrapped up as I was starting the meeting. So be well, take care, and I will see everyone soon.